Hello everybody. Been a while since I made a video. I'm going to do a walk around video. At least attempt to, and kind of describe some of the things that I've done to build this car. I'm Gene, Fast Things. And there's the GTM Supercar. So I kind of made a list. I probably still forgot some stuff. So I'm just going to go down the list. And I wanted to put it outside where a little more room. But I got the wheels off and everything, so I figured I'd show some stuff in the suspension while I got the wheels off. So it took me about 3.5, 4 years to build that thing. A lot happens in 3.5, 4 years. You can buy the raw kit from Factory 5 Racing. I think it's like 25 grand for the raw kit. And it is raw, so it's not a snap together model. Building one of these. And I wanted to build this one, you know, so everything was nice and tidy, and where I could take it apart and work on things if I needed to. So I tried to go for, you know, a pretty good quality build. Really took some time in every little spot. So let's see what I got on my list here. You know, all this car, everything was built right here in this garage. In case you haven't seen 80 of my videos logging myself in here building this thing. And you know, just search Fast Things build log and you'll see it. It's a non-donor build. The idea behind this thing is to get a Corvette that's wrecked, a C5 Vet. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I wasn't going to put used parts on here. And I knew I wasn't going to follow the manual building it. All said and done, it comes in at 2,700 pounds with me in it. And it's balanced pretty much 60-40 rear to front, and the cross weights are all balanced with me sitting in it, so it feels really good driving down the road. Nice and balanced. You know, you can take your hand off the wheel. It feels good. It's got race logic, traction control, and right here on my console, which is the unit here, that's the race logic controller right there, and it's hooked up through the wheel speed sensors in the car. You know, which are these guys here, all four corners. And it's wired into the injectors, and you can plug that into a laptop and change it, so you can change the amount of slip or cut that you want. And then it also has a switch hooked into my clutch for full full throttle shifting, and it has a launch control, which is pretty cool. Now the motor in here, it's an LS2. It's got a 550 horse trick flow top end kit. And it's a pretty good runner. Man, that thing feels good. 550 horse, 440 to the wheels. Just as much torque. And I tried to do the install with that, you know, nice and clean. And then it's a Mendiola transaxle. The transaxle is built for this car by Mendiola. And it mates up to the LS motors for the mid-engine configuration. 4 to 11 ring and pinion gears. And it's been kind of stiff so far, but it's new. You know, I've barely driven this thing, and it is braking and it is shifting easier. And it's feeling pretty good. The suspension is all off of a C5 Vet. The knuckles, the control arms, front and rear. That's all C5 Vet. And it just bolts right up to the chassis. And then the brakes, 13-inch in the back, 4-pot calipers, and then in the front 14-inch rotors with 6-pot calipers. And then the same thing up here, C5 Vet. Got a sway bar, which was made by a guy in California. Same guy came up with the combo for the strut and spring package. These are a Bilstein strut. And now, you know, the valving and the spring rates is something that he developed, so you know, I went with his word rather than using the ones from the kit. There was a problem with the kit, but they did make a fix for it as far as how to use the coilovers. But anyways, I wanted to go with what this guy had developed. Wheels and tires, Ford Star wheels. 18 by 10 in the front, 18 by 12 in the rear. And then the tires are two 55 35 18s and three 35 30 18s. And those are Toyo R888s. What else do we got? Oh, the exhaust. All 4-inch tubing, dual fed, sucking in cool air through these vents. That's a pretty custom setup I did right there. And it fit good, works good, looks good. I like it. The exhaust was made for this car by Cooks, and it's a 1 3/4 inch tube going into a 3-inch pipe. It's pretty big exhaust. Breathes well, and it comes right out the rear. The fuel system has got dual tanks. There's one right behind each seat. You can't see them in there, but they're buried in there. It took a lot of time with that fuel system and routing all the hoses. I got an aeromotive filters and pump, which is hidden on the other side of this panel back there. And then all the lines, I had a lot of tubing that I hand bent, basically melted it to the front of the engine and in that area, and welded ends on the end of them, just so it keep it out of the engine bay, keep it clean. And then I've got a pressure gauge over here, so I can monitor fuel pressure from out here. Cooling, that's just a stock C5 radiator. Sits up front. It's got tubes going down through the tunnel. And I've got that pretty heavily insulated. It's not bad keeping the heat out of there. One of these fans runs off the ECU, and the other one I've got hooked up to a switch. So when I want to, I can just keep one running all the time, and the other one runs from the computer. And it's got a vintage air HVAC system in it. So it does have AC, and it does have heat. And it's got 3 different vents from the defrost out the dash and then down in the foot area down in there. That works pretty good. Now all the wiring, I took a lot of time with all the wiring. There's hardly any wiring in this car. Everything runs off of they call it Xfinity box now. It used to be called ISIS, but it's this screen right here, and everything in the car runs through that screen. There's 4 different modules which control anything that uses electricity. It's a CAN bus system. Here's one of the modules. Shoot. Probably can't see it, but it's way back in here. And that one here sends off power like to all my lights in the back. Basically that's it. There's not much back here. And there's lights up front. Not much up there. Horn, wiper, stuff like that. And so yeah, everything works off that touch screen as well as a key fob. And then I've got some things that don't run off that, obviously, like the traction control, the 9500 CI radar detection, and then the Audison DCR control, the remote control. The that Passport is hooked into GPS satellite. It's got front and rear laser shifters. There's one right here. And then it picks up all the different radars also. And it's a pretty neat system. That's all tucked in with the wiring also. So it's pretty much embedded into the car. The stereo, I've got an 8-inch Samsung tablet, which I made a docking station, plugs into there. That goes into, comes out of their HDMI, and then goes into a HDMI de-embedder, and then from there optical, and then optical into the digital tuner. So each speaker is individually digitally tuned, and then the subs back here. So some good sound. There she is on the ground. Sits pretty low. I've already hacked up my splitter quite a few times, hitting it on stuff. Spent a lot of hours doing body work, many hundreds of hours, getting stuff symmetrical, flattened out, smoothed out, lined up, get it to where the doors would shut, windows would go up, where the glass was level with the body. You know, this thing's a mess when you get it pretty raw kit. Sure is shiny. I'm taking it to a show next weekend. That's why I got it cleaned up. And I'm gonna see what we can get. Now, don't forget about all the stuff inside. Everything that goes around the cage. And these speaker pods and all that. That's all hydro dipped. I made all that stuff. It's all handmade. Custom tinted a color. To make that look like carbon. And I put a red stripe in there. Anyways, pretty happy so far with the way it performs, and it's ready to move on to the next stage and start setting up the traction control. I'm going to get it out on the track, get some higher speeds in it, see if the suspension needs dialed in a little bit more. Lots of stuff yet to get dialed in. You know, a Car and Driver did an article on one of these cars. They got it to do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. So I would expect to be able to do that with this. And I'm going to post it, the results, you know, of these tests I do. I'm going to do some quarter-mile runs. And I'll put that all up on YouTube. So if you guys are interested and want to check it out, we'll get that stuff up there as I do it. Okay, now the inside here. I got a button here which turns off this touch screen. Got my tablet plugged in here. And with the ISIS in touch, there's the screen for doing everything. And I can move my wheel in and out even. Windows up and down. Turn all my lights on and off, as well as I have a switch here for my lights. My fans. Got cooling fans in the rear. One up in the tunnel. I got a switch here to turn the fan on up front. And then another one to run the fuel pump when I need to, when the ignition's on. Here's the ignition. Go ahead and fire it up. Or maybe not. That's weird. I just had to purge the fuel pump a little bit and then I fired up.